So welcome back to the Bootroom Podcast. We will explain why Harry's not here and why I'm sitting here. But for today, Jack Baldwin joins me. Jack, welcome aboard.
Thanks, guys. Good to be here.
Absolutely. So, let's just explain. Harry is not currently here. If you want to pan to this seat, can you pan? That's usually my seat, but currently Harry's not here. So, Jack, go on then. Tell us about your early days in Barking, growing up, and I'm presuming playing football.
Yeah, obviously just a humble upbringing. I had a very supportive family, very lucky to have two very supportive parents. Like I say, grew up in Barking, started playing football when I was 5-6 years old. My dad set up a team for us, me and my mates, like on the estate where we lived, because there wasn't any kind of local clubs about. Named it after the pub that he drank down. So yeah, him and one of his good friends took a team for us, and I grew up playing with my mates until I was about 13 or 14, which is when I then moved clubs and went down to Gravesend in Kent. But yeah, obviously grew up in Barking, lived there until I was 18 and moved away to play professionally.
Before we talk about the after 13, so you were playing grassroots, right?
Yeah.
Any like sort of divisions or?
Just like the local league, like Essex League.
Did you want to be a professional footballer then?
Yeah, of course, yeah. I think it's every young boy's dream, I think. Well, majority of young boys' dreams to play professional football. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, absolutely loved the game. I had a ball at my feet at every opportunity. If it wasn't a ball and I was walking home from school or whatever and there was a bottle on the floor, it'd be the bottle and just kicking anything I could. So, yeah, I've got a young boy as well now who's 8 and he's exactly the same. So, do you
think he'll be a professional footballer?
I think he wants to be, but I'm not pushing him in any direction. If he wants to and that's his dream, then I'll encourage him to work hard and try and get there. But equally, I'm not going to force him to do anything.
Of course.
I do.
Yeah, of course. So, talk to us then. After 13, is that when you started to take it a bit more seriously?
Yeah, so at the age of 13, somebody my dad worked with, he invited me over to Gravesend and Northfleet, which is now Ebbsfleet United. Mm-hmm. They were, I think at the time, like National League or Conference, whatever it was back then. And he invited me over to kind of play for, because he managed a team, like my dad's mate managed the team at 13. So yeah, I went over there. So from where I grew up, it was south of the river, so it was probably like a 35-40 minute journey twice a week and on the weekend. But thankfully, like I said, supportive parents that took me there. So from the age of 13 to 16, well, under 16, so 15 I was playing for Gravesend and Northfleet. And then at the age of 15, when lads get offered like a scholarship, they offered me something for their, I think it was called like a pace scheme or something off the top of my head, which is where they kind of go to college or sixth form, do their education, but then train with like
at the same time.
Yeah. Like on a couple of times a week. But obviously living across the water, it was a commitment that I couldn't really like lean into, so decided to not go ahead with it, and then I found myself another club, which was also in Kent, and I moved to Chatham Town, who were like the Ryman League, I think. So first year of under 18s, I was playing for Chatham Town, but yeah, it was a great year. We won a lot of games. I think we won a cup as well, if I can remember rightly. And yeah, I spent a year there, and then the second year of what would have been under 18s, I started playing men's football in the Ryman South, I think it was, for Faversham Town, another Kent team. So yeah, about from the age of 13 to 17, I played in Kent, which is thankfully I had parents that were willing to drive me over there
for sure.
every week.
So, and then at 18 years of age, you trialled with Gillingham, obviously a well-known club around here. Gareth Ainsworth has just signed as manager there. So what was that like then, at 18, to go into a very professional club at a decent level?
Yeah, it was pretty daunting, to be honest, because rewind a few years, I obviously grew up in Barking and Dagenham. I went on trial at Dagenham and Redbridge when I was like 14 or 15, can't really remember. And I'm not the loudest person now, and as a young boy I was quite introverted and I was really, really quiet, really shy. So going into an environment where you've got like 18 young lads who are all football at like at an academy. I went on trial there, and kind of, from what I can remember, I just didn't stand out at all. I just kind of got swallowed up by the environment. So when I went into Gillingham on trial, had a few years age like on me now. So I was 17 or whatever I was, and it was a daunting experience because this time it was first team environment. There was players there that had played a lot of football in the professional game, and although I think I'd done all right, I got told by the manager that they had a young defender that was coming through the ranks, and they didn't really see any point of bringing me in, because if they was going to play a young defender, they would just use the young lad that was coming through. So obviously I was due to go to university to study physiotherapy, and I was going to study at the Medway campus, which is about 10 minutes from Gillingham. So I spoke with the manager, and he said, like, if you want to come in when you're like of an evening to train or whatever, or just we'll keep an eye on you, kind of thing. So I thought, great, like, I'll go to uni, do my studies, and every now and then I might be able to train with a professional club, which was then not needed, because I went up to Hartlepool and signed professional.
Yes, we'll talk about that in a second. So you're obviously a centre-back now.
Yep.
So, but I also heard stories that you weren't a centre-back before. So can you tell us the stories of what positions you did play in, and then how you transitioned into each?
Yeah, so when I first started, I loved putting on a pair of gloves. I don't know.
I didn't read that part, by the way. Goalkeeper.
Well, this was when I was like 6 or 7.
Okay,
so I was going to say, like, even my son now, a pair of goalie gloves, he just loves putting on goalie gloves, even though he's not a keeper. But yeah, I played for this newly formed team that my dad sorted for me and my mates, and I was the goalkeeper for the whole season. And we got to a cup final, like a McDonald's Cup final, whatever it was called at the time, and we played. So we had a team called Millwall in the league, and they were unbeaten all year. They had a really strong side, and they'd score 3-4 goals every week, and we hadn't beaten them, but we got them in the final. And for some reason, my dad and his mate who managed the team decided to take me out of goal and put me on pitch for the cup final. And I've heard stories that him and my mum had a few words, and my mum's like, "What are you doing?" Blah blah blah. But yeah, he took me out of goal, and we actually won the cup final and beat an unbeaten Millwall team to win the trophy. So yeah, from that day, I think I played midfield that game. Obviously, it was only like 7-a-side football, so midfield, you're kind of all over the pitch anyway. So yeah, I played out on pitch then from 7 or 8 years old. Made my professional debut as a midfielder, even though I signed as a centre-back. And yeah, throughout my professional career, I've played a few games in midfield, handful of games at right back, and obviously you just, as a senior player now, I've not been used in many positions, but as a player, I've kind of always had that tag that I'm the mature one, or like the reliable. But looking back, probably not so reliable. But if a manager was struggling for a position, then it wouldn't think twice about chucking me in wherever.
Well, I must say, I do apologise about the delay. I was caught up in a recording process. But Jack, it's great to be here. Thank you very much. Sorry about the delay.
No worries.
So then, let's get straight into it then. So obviously, signed by Hartlepool after impressing in pre-season. What was it like then to be heard that you were going to be joining a club like Hartlepool?
Yeah, it was massive for me because, as I just mentioned before, I've been knocked back by Gillingham kind of a month or two before actually going up to Hartlepool to have a trial. So it was kind of a free hit, really. I knew I was going to university in September or whenever it was. And yeah, the opportunity came up to go up to Hartlepool for a week's trial, kind of July pre-season time. So I spent a week up there, trained Monday, Tuesday, played a couple of games, one for the under-18s and one for the first team. And then on the Friday, got pulled in and told that I was going to be offered a contract. So, yeah, it was all of my dreams come true, albeit it was 250 miles away from home. So, yeah, on the Friday, I got told I was going to be given a contract, and signed it all there. Went back home. My uncle was getting married on the Saturday, so the next day. So, like, obviously at the evening of the wedding, I was basically telling all my family that I was moving away and I was going to start playing professional football. So Sunday morning, I was at King's Cross with a massive hold all full of as many clothes and boots as I could fit, and yeah, that was it. I was off, and that was the start of my journey, really.
Well, Hartlepool's obviously up north. I didn't actually realise this until a few months ago. So what was it like to move up north? Different culture to down here, right?
Yeah, it was. Obviously, I grew up and lived in Barking my whole life up until that point. So, obviously, I'd been on holidays abroad and stuff, but to actually live somewhere that's not home was a new experience. I moved in with one of the boys that was on loan at the time, James Paul, and yeah, Hartlepool's a small town in the northeast of England. Absolutely amazing people. Obviously, that area is, I'm not going to say deprived, because it's not a deprived area, but it has its struggles. But the people there, the club, everybody that I met was absolutely fantastic, and it was and it was an amazing experience to go up there, and for that to be my first club. Obviously, I'm forever grateful and thankful for Hartlepool.
So in 2011, 17th of December, so near Christmas time, bit of festive spirit going on. You played against Colchester in your debut in League One. So, I mean, that's no easy feat to go into. It was a 1-0 loss, but what do you remember about the call-up? Getting told you're going to play and then your way to the stadium and then playing itself?
Yeah, so obviously I signed in the July under the manager, Mick Wadsworth, who signed me, and then didn't actually play under him. He ended up getting the sack, and then the caretaker manager, Mickey Barron, who was the coach at the time, took over, and I can't remember if it was his very first game or one of his first games in charge, but he chucked me in and Luke James, who was a young striker that came through the academy and had kind of big things ahead of him. So yeah, there was two kind of young lads on the team sheet, and I think I played midfield that game, and just kind of running around as an eager 18-year-old, just trying to fly into challenges and just do what I can. So obviously it was a great day. I think my parents would have come up for the game as well, and albeit a defeat, but that was again the start of my journey. I trained obviously from the July to the December, not really getting a look in, probably made the bench a few times. But from that point on, I was kind of in and around the team and getting games under my belt.
And obviously 2 years later, this time just shortly after the festive break, you had your first professional goal that came against Bournemouth in a 2-1 loss. But what's it like? Obviously, every kid dreams of scoring their first professional goal when they're growing up. So what's it like to have that milestone ticked off then?
It was good. I think I got my face kicked off in the process. It was a bit of a goalmouth scramble, and then it was literally on the goal line, and I've nodded it in as the defenders come to clear it. So I've scored, but I'm laying in the net with a gushing nosebleed afterwards. So
worth it.
Worth it, and to sign professional was massive. To make your debut was even better, and then to get your first goal, just for me, not going through like a traditional academy system to get to that stage, to make your debut, to score a goal, it's just like tick, 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 and it's just everything that you dream of as a young boy.
So had you not got kicked in the face, what would the celebration have been? Or what is your celebration now?
No, I still don't really score many goals, so it just, whatever, just go a bit mad.
No knee slide?
Nah.
What do you do?
I've had a knee injury,
so
I've had a knee injury, so I can't actually bend my knee all the way back. Okay. So if I slide on my knees, I'll probably have to come off injured.
What would your celebration be?
At the moment, it's a knee slide as well. Yeah. What's yours?
Just a little fist bump. Just another goal. Do you know what I mean? It's another goal.
Mine's just like go wild, because it doesn't happen that often, so I don't actually know what to do. I just run around punching the air.
And, more a punch in the air. Imagine when Joe Gomez gets his first goals, Ed. What would that be like? Okay, so obviously we just mentioned about your knee injury. So could you talk to us about the first time that sort of happened in March 2013, set you back a few weeks? And obviously a knee injury, I mean, you could play with a bruised finger or a broken hand or whatever, but with a problem in your knee, probably not.
So obviously my big knee injury happened when I was at Peterborough. Before that point, because I've had so much focus on the bigger knee injury, before that I can't really remember getting injured too much. But yeah, I think I picked up a little niggle. But it wasn't nothing that kind of was worrying, or you just think I was part and parcel of the game. And that was that really. But yeah, obviously, fast forward a year or so, moved to Peterborough and just blown my knee wide open, to be honest.
What, so it's not like an ACL, it's like your knee actually, you saw the inside of your knee?
No, yeah. So my big knee injury was ACL rupture, MCL and LCL, like repair, and your hamstring where it runs down behind your knee and attaches like behind your calf, like that had to be kind of stitched back down and repaired as well. So
wow.
So
that's a big injury.
It was a big injury, yeah, and it kept me out for a year. And at the time, the surgeon, it was like 10 years ago, and the surgeon said like 10, 15 years prior to that, if I'd done that injury, I probably wouldn't have returned to play as easily as I have done. So yeah, I'm very lucky to recovered from it. It still gives me a little bit of jip nowadays, but I've played over 300 games since the injury, so it's one of them things.
Yeah.
Obviously, we mentioned your first goal that you scored, and then 13, 14 seasons, that's sort of when you established yourself as a player, scoring 4 goals and attracting a bit of transfer interest. So did it feel like you were getting somewhere, to a point where you thought, the club can come in for me here?
Yeah, it did, but also at the same time, it was like, well, I've literally only just signed professional, so like I thought of... I did feel like a little bit, and I still do, like, not so much nowadays, but in recent years, like a bit of imposter syndrome. So when I was at the football club, I was like, right, I'm a professional footballer with lads that have played hundreds of games at higher levels. And then, like you say, I established myself a little bit. I'd get in regular game time, and like a few like transfer rumours start obviously picking up, and it's like, well, half of me is like, well, I must deserve it, but then half of me is like, well, you're still this kid from Barking that's just literally just playing football for a living. But yeah, I remember the January window before I moved, there was a couple of like conversations, but nothing that I actually thought was going to like turn into a move. But yeah, like it's just not justification, but it's just it's nice to hear. It is nice to hear, but like I said, at the same time, it was a little bit of an imposter syndrome.
But I suppose when you're this lad in a team that's not been playing football professionally for too long, I mean, even if you were playing for years and years, particularly on social media or newspapers or whatever, you saw it on that, a club's interested in you. So you didn't actually get contacted by an agent. It's more just like you see it in the paper and you in the back of your head sort of thing.
Yeah, so initially, like everything was, newspapers and social media was there. Obviously, rumours on there as well. And yeah, I didn't have an agent at the time. When I signed for Hartlepool, I didn't have an agent, and then as I was playing games, a couple of agents started like reaching out, asking if I'd want to be represented or whatever. So yeah, in the January before I moved, I did have an agent, and he was kind of saying like, obviously these clubs are interested, blah blah blah, but nothing that was worth kind of shouting about. It was just all rumours at that stage, until it actually happened, and it kind of came pretty much out of the blue.
So obviously after attracting all that transfer interest, then it became reality when you made the move to Peterborough. And obviously it says here that you helped the team reach a League One playoff final, quickly became a Peterborough first team regular. So did it feel like you were this was the first step on the road to, optimistic success for you, that you were now a regular team, a regular player in a team like Peterborough?
Yeah, I think so I moved on the deadline day of the January, and I don't think I played for the first couple of weeks, and then I got into the team, and that back end of that season we finished in the playoffs. We lost in the playoff semi-finals to Leyton Orient, but getting that move and then getting into the team was kind of that next step. It was like, right, I've signed for Hartlepool, been at Hartlepool, I've got to move. Now I'm cemented. I deserve to be here. And then I was at Peterborough for 4.5 years, and ultimately didn't didn't get the success that the club aimed for and what we targeted as players. But it was that was the next step, and I've got the move. I think the club paid a fee for me, so that was like, right, I deserve to be here, and kind of put the imposter syndrome to the side a bit and try and kick on and make a name for myself, really.
I think you played 23 games with him, but do you know Idris Kanu?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's he like? I'm a really big fan of him, by the way.
Yeah. So,
I mean, you've never seen him play, but he's a really good player, isn't he?
Idris actually went to Eastbury, the school that I went to as well.
Okay.
So yeah, it was. Obviously, he was younger than me, so I was aware of him when his name obviously came up and he signed that. Yeah, he's a great lad. Very, very strong, very quick. And I've not seen him play recently, but
I have. I can tell you he's still a very good player.
I'm sure he's a handful.
Yeah. He's like deemed one of the best in the National League.
Yeah, and I'm sure he'll get another chance to get back into the league at some stage.
Barnet at top of the league.
Well, yeah.
So,
if he doesn't get a move, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Well, hopefully he doesn't get a move.
For your sake.
Yeah, for my sake.
Obviously, it's a shame. We've obviously mentioned an injury already to the knee, which was a massive blow. But then, obviously, it reoccurred again, it would seem, in 2014 November. Serious knee ligament injury. So, obviously, sidelined for nearly a year again. What does that feel that it's almost been now 2 years out of football throughout your career, just with a reoccurring knee issue?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a shock because when I'd done that knee injury, it was 35 minutes into a game, and physio came on and he wiggled my leg about and he said, you might have got away with it, blah blah blah. So I came off on the sideline. I was running up and down the pitch, like up and down the sideline. He's like, "Do you want to go back on?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll get to half time, assess it at half time, and we'll go from there." And I came back on, and like my leg gave way, and I was thought, this isn't right. So, yeah, obviously got a scan, and obviously in November time, as my dad's birthday, we was out for a meal with my family, and physio rang me, and because we was out celebrating my dad's birthday, I just knew it was going to be bad news when he rang, and he said, yeah, like you basically completely done your knee, and you're going to be sidelined for a while. So. Obviously let the swelling settle down and then got booked in for an operation. And then, yeah, it was a year out, I think, till I got back playing. So, yeah, again, it's just one of them things in football where you, obviously, I've known and played with players that have had 2 or 3 major knee injuries that have kept them out a lot longer. So, albeit it was frustrating and it's not nice to go through. It's not a nice process to go through at all. But touch would have been really lucky to have managed that well enough to be able to continue playing and not do anything major like that again.
Yeah, of course. So in terms of having the injury, so you did the problem to your knee, and then you have the operation on it, and then it's just about the getting that knee back to strength sort of thing, and then so it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. So obviously, I had basically a new ACL ligament grafted out of my patella tendon.
Oh God!
Which, I think I've got 2 screws in my.
Okay, well, I was going to say because my uncle had something quite similar, and then obviously this is November, December, January. It's very, very cold, and when it's cold, the metal. Do you have that or not?
Okay, I would say the screws are probably that big, so don't feel it enough.
Because he said that he felt discomfort. I don't know why, but it was saying because it was in the cold months. I was just thinking because it may have been November, it would have been a bit more pain.
Yeah, I mean, when you go through a knee injury, it's pretty stiff anyway. But yeah, in the colder months, things just seize up even more. So, but yeah, no, that wasn't really an issue that I actively noticed.
Okay.
But yeah, like you say, it's just that initial 8 weeks or so. I was in a brace for 6 weeks, so my knee wasn't moving out of line or anything. And then after that, I was sat in this machine that you put your leg in, and it moves bend your knee up and down gradually. But honestly, it's the most painful. Not painful as in actual pain, just boring. This moves so slowly, and you're on it for a half an hour.
I think I've seen Neymar have that done when they were trying to.
You're just sitting in his legs in the machine like that, and then it bends it brings your leg up so it bends slightly, and then you just keep gradually.
And you just want to move that knee and get back to front pitch.
Yeah, it was so sore. It was just trying to get it doing that was painful enough. But yeah, it's just so boring. And those initial stages of the rehab is just, again, everything's so slow because you're not really noticing any changes or anything. And then it's not until like the 4, 5, 6 month mark where you get like moving in a gym again and start trying to build some strength back, really.
What did you actually do in these months, like, to keep yourself occupied? Because obviously you're away from football for the majority, well, all of it. But
yeah, obviously I was in with the physio pretty much every day. So
okay.
yeah,
So you're still going into the club?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I had to change of physios like 6 weeks into my rehab. But yeah, obviously physio. I still speak to him now, and like really good friends, and he was great for me, and he knew, he could sense when I was having a bit of a downer day, and he could sense the days when I was ready to work and stuff. So you're still about the club, you're still seeing the boys. Obviously boys are coming in and out of the physio room, and over a year period you see in pretty much the whole squad throughout the year coming in and out of the change room. So you do feel a little bit away from the group, but then you kind of go have your lunch and you mix in with the boys again, and you go into the home games, and yeah, it's just about trying to keep a positive frame of mind, really.
Well, on a more positive note then, after that, what's it like then what did it feel like to captain Peterborough? So sort of 2 years after those issues, it was almost like the return, wasn't it, to captain the team you've been playing for 2 years? What's that feeling like, knowing that you're going to be wearing that armband? Yeah,
it was a huge honour, and the day I actually got injured, I had the armband for the half an hour, whatever that I played. So that was kind of like my first taste of it, because I'd never captained the team before that. So obviously it was nice to know that the manager kind of seen you as that leader within the group, and then to be made the permanent captain of the season that I was, it's a massive honour, because there's lads in the change room that are older than you, played more games than you, and for you to be recognised by the manager and the coaching staff as the player that's going to go and captain the side it's a huge honour, and one that I do look back on and think, like, that's a proud moment.
Yeah.
You also won the PFA Community Champion by the Club award. It's a very long name. They should probably just shorten it down. Why did you win that? Because I suppose you were struggling with injuries as well. So what do you think was a standout reason as to why you won that?
I think for me, my personality, I enjoy kind of those, as players, we do community appearances where we go out within the community to schools and soccer camps and all these different appearances where you go and interact with the local community. And obviously, where I was injured for so long, it gave me the opportunity to do that even more, because didn't have to worry about training, didn't have to worry about prepping for a game, or it's a no to do appearances on a Friday before the game on Saturday, because the manager just wants you home resting or whatever. So I was able to get out into community much more and do much more of those appearances and interact with the fans and the people within the area. So it's something that I enjoy doing, but being injured, it just gave me that opportunity to do it
more frequently.
Yeah, more frequently, and offer more of myself to the fans, really.
And obviously after that spell at Peterborough, he then moved on to Sunderland, where you signed a 2-year deal at newly relegated League One club. So what was it like then to feel that you've had 4 years at Peterborough and it's now a new chapter? Were you optimistic, or were you sort of concerned that injuries may come back and hinder this?
No, it was a very optimistic time, to be honest, because the same way moving from Hartlepool to Peterborough was like that justification of the work that I'd put in and being able to get my first professional move. From Peterborough to Sunderland was again like another
step up.
It was that again, yeah. So because obviously Sunderland's a huge club, like a massive football club that shouldn't have been in League One when I signed for them. But to be able to go and play for a club like Sunderland was just, again, it was just a massive achievement to even get in the door, really, to share a changing with like Lee Catamol and Aidan McGeady, Brian Oviedo, Glenn Louvens, like all these massive names within football. And again, it was that imposter syndrome was like creeping back in. It was like, oh, what are you doing here? Yeah. But yeah, it was a fantastic opportunity for me to go and test myself at a bigger club, are surrounded by better players on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were speaking about Sunderland before, and this was obviously 18 to 20, so it would have been before COVID anyway. So obviously you played for Sunderland at the Stadium of Light, right? And obviously that's a brilliant ground to go to. What's that like? I know a Sunderland fan myself, and he's constantly telling me, you should go there. It's a good stadium. So what's it like to play there?
It's a fantastic stadium, fantastic atmosphere, such a passionate fan base, and yeah, when things are going well, like it's a fantastic place to be. On the flip side, when you're not doing so well, it's a tough place to play.
Of course.
Yeah. So, but listen, as a professional, these are the things you have to deal with at the end of the day. But yeah, albeit it didn't turn out how I wanted it to, I do still look back and think, I did well for the year that I was there. Obviously, I went on loan the second year. I'm sure we'll get to that. But to go in and play the amount of games that I played at a club of that stature was, again, it was a real positive for me.
Yeah, so you did say you were going to mention it. So Salford City, then, that was the loan spell. 11th place was where they were sat in the league when you joined. So was it what was the feeling like when you found out that you were going to be sort of stepping almost a level down from Sunderland to Salford? But was it one of those where you agreed with the manager on that?
Yeah, so when I signed for Sunderland, I wanted to go and play every game, but I understood that the calibre of player the competition would have been huge. So I was under the impression that I would have had a fair chance at getting into the team, and I missed the first game of the season, but then we played Luton in the second game of the season and kind of cemented a place from there on in. And I played probably 3/4 of the games that season, which, because of my injury before that date, I hadn't played as many games in the season as I did that season. Yeah. Obviously, we got to a cup final, the Checkatrade Cup final at Wembley, and the team got to the playoffs. But towards the end of the season, we played Coventry, I think it was, at home, and we lost 4 or 5-3. But all I know was 3-0 down at half time. It was a horrendous day at the office for everybody. The manager took 6 of us out, me included, in one of those 6. And then the games after that, I wasn't getting back in. The other lads that he'd taken out started getting drifted back into the team, and I was just left on the sidelines. And so fast forward the end of that season, come back for pre-season, and kind of the manager says your game time's going to be limited this season. And although I was at a fantastic football club, I didn't just want to sit around and not play any football, because at the end of the day, that's why you're a footballer, to play games. So the opportunity came up to go across to Salford, and who were still are, I guess, a pretty ambitious club. They obviously the owners are very well known, and they want to progress their football club higher up the leagues. And it was an opportunity to go and play football at a progressive football club that want to try and do things. So obviously went on loan for the next year and got a couple of ankle injuries that kept me out, and I only played probably about 15 games that year. So it was a mixed couple of years, but obviously these things happen in football.
You mentioned about the owners. Obviously, they are very well known. How much of an influence do they have within the club? Because I've heard about I think it's the former Chelsea owner. He would often go into the changing rooms before the game and have a go at them. And obviously, as a player, you probably don't want that. But how much are the guys involved? Because I know, for example, some of the lads, some of the owners of the club are more involved than others.
Yeah.
So how involved are they with you as a player?
As a player, not so much so. I think if there's a target that they have identified to bring into the club, they might pick up the phone personally and kind of use their
name.
Their name as a pool to get them in. But I think very heavily, obviously off the pitch, I think there's probably one or two that done a lot more than the others. But for me personally, my time there, I can't speak for any other time, but I didn't see too much of them in the change room in that sense. Obviously, they was at the games and they was around the ground and stuff, but They was never in there giving us a bollocking.
We mentioned that whilst you were at Salford, you sustained a slight ankle injury. What was the sort of level of severity for that then?
So I think it was like the second game. I stepped in and I played a pass as a striker or midfielder come in and challenged me, and I just like rocked my ankle a little bit, and I was out for about 8 weeks with it. I had like an X-ray and stuff. There wasn't really any significant damage, but it was enough to keep me sidelined for 8 weeks. And then I came back and I played in like a reserve game at Burnley. We played like the Burnley under 23s or whatever it was, and literally the same thing happened to my other ankle. So it was a corner, came in, like there was a bit of tussling, and the striker fell into my leg, and it like rocked my ankle, like my other ankle. And again, that was kind of like 8 to 10 weeks out with that as well. So by the time I came back, it was like February or whatever, like January, February. And then ended up coming back and playing, like 13, 14, 15 games in midfield for the rest of the season.
So Bristol Rovers came up next, and obviously that is COVID time.
Yeah.
How much of an effect did that have when you first signed? Because it was in July of 2020. And if I remember rightly, COVID came in about February. Is that
Yeah,
right?
March
so
time, yeah.
yeah, so I obviously had the opportunity to go down to Bristol, and it was all masked up and social distancing, and like obviously I had to do like, the medical and stuff. So that was really like sanitize your hands, like, don't breathe on me.
I didn't even breathe at all. How about that?
Yeah. But yeah, that was it was a challenging time, to be fair. Obviously, the whole world went into lockdown, and
Was this in between, before, or after the lockdown?
yeah. So when I was at Salford, I think the season got cut short because of COVID, and then obviously I moved to Bristol in the summer, so still kind of in the thick of it. So yeah, there was no fans at the games, and obviously training, we had all these protocols that we had to follow, and couldn't all get changed in one dressing room. We had to be split, so we had like space between like so I had to get changed here, you had to get changed like 2 meters away or whatever it was. But then we'd go out and train, and we'd tussle, and we'd like
smart from whoever organised it, I must say. Like, so I remember seeing, Ben Foster, he was vlogging all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember when they went to Wickham, they might not have the best of facilities, I don't quite know, but I think they were put somewhere in like, I don't know where they were put, but it didn't look the best.
I'd say we like throughout that season, I think I got changed in like restaurants, bars, like,
Wow.
like for whatever reason you couldn't get changed in any way changing room. You had to go to a space that had a bigger floor area, so you could fit more space between the chairs. So yeah, like.
But now looking back at it, it just is weird, isn't it? It just feels weird.
So strange, because we done, like I said, we done all that, and then we'd go out on the pitch for an hour and a half and like sweat on each other, and like
high five when you score a goal.
Yeah, like jump on each other. Obviously, you're wrestling with the opposition and marking people, and obviously, it was what it was. But it was a very strange time.
They were thinking about bringing in masks. I don't know if you saw that, during the games. It was like a bit of a meme.
Never going to work, though, was it?
No.
I can't breathe at the best of times, and I'm wearing a mask.
So go ahead and talk to us then about Bristol Rovers as a whole. So obviously you were there for a year. You did sign a 2-year deal, but I suppose we can talk about why it came to an end after. But yeah, Northampton Town, you actually scored against them when you were there.
So I signed for Bristol Rovers in the July COVID season. Very difficult season. Fantastic football club again. Lovely area. Didn't really get to experience too much of Bristol because it was all shut because of lockdown and COVID. But I met some fantastic people there. Still really, I speak to a guy every day that I met when I was at Bristol. So there were positives to take from my time there. But it was a very challenging year. Went through 3 managers. The training ground that they've now got wasn't finished, so we was kind of in a transition period between training at a local university, like having our lunches in like this big marquee outside, wedding marquee outside, and then heading over to the training ground when it was like nearly finished. Gym facilities were like nearly finished with getting changed in like a porter cabin, and it was it was a tough year. And then, like I said, 3 managers, and ultimately, ended in relegation, which was, as a player, that's not something you want on your CV at all. But it was a tough year, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely was. Obviously, finishing 24th in League One obviously wasn't easy. And then, what was it like to what was the mood like when you found out your contract was obviously unfortunately terminated?
Yeah, so obviously the Jerry Barton came in as our 3rd manager that year to try and keep us up. And obviously, once the season had finished, obviously have a conversation with the manager, and basically tells me like if there's an opportunity that comes up that you like want to take, then I'm free to go and chase it really.
Mm-hmm.
Equally, he said if you want to stay and fight for a position just as much as anybody else, then welcome to do so. And at that point, I was ready to stay and fight and obviously try and get the football club back to League One, because you feel like you are a failure when you get the club relegated, and to then like jump ship, what it looks like, jump ship to move on. I didn't want that, but obviously opportunity came up to move on, which was something that I think I needed at the time. So yeah, jumped to that instead.
I mean, to get relegated, what is that like? I mean, by the way, we're no professional footballers. I've never been relegated before, but obviously, when you get told, we were speaking about this before, obviously all the 3 clubs that have come up from the Championship are all going to go down. Southampton have probably known that now for months, but to know that you are going to go down, what's that like? What does the manager say to you?
Yeah, it's tough, and like I say, it's probably the worst thing that can happen to you, like as a footballer. So, obviously, we was scrapping about the bottom of the league for most of the year, and hence the 3 managers that obviously all came in to try and resolve the problem. But yeah, it's like you're turning up every day. You're trying to do the right things. You're going out on a Saturday, and again, you're trying to do the right things, but it's just like nothing works, and you just know like what people are going to think of you, and like all this negative connotations that are attached with relegation. It is horrible, and it's not something that I want to experience again.
No, definitely not. And then obviously Ross County came along, so then you signed obviously for Ross County in August 2021. It was a 6th place finish that year, so do you feel that was, achievable, not achievable, but like good enough for your first season to sort of, I believe there's 12 teams, aren't there, in the Scottish League?
Yeah.
So it was
I've been there for years on FM, by the way.
Yeah, you have.
Motherwell, yeah. Just won the league. But
yeah. So to come literally slap bang in the middle of the league.
Yeah, the opportunity came up to go to Scotland, and I initially turned it down because, again, obviously the situation at Bristol Rovers, they said if there was something that came up, this came up. I had a chat with my wife. Obviously, I've got 2 young kids. To move to the north of Scotland was a massive change for all of us. And after a conversation, we decided like probably wasn't for us. And then fast forward probably 2 or 3 weeks, a few more phone calls with the manager and the coaching staff at Ross County. And after the year that I just had with Bristol Rovers, the year I had with Salford, the parts of the year I had at Sunderland, just felt like it was just a clean break and a fresh challenge to go and try the Scottish League. And yeah, a 6th place finish, which is in the Scottish League, is a top 6 finish. So at the end of the season, the league splits and you play everybody again. Yeah. So we was in the section with Celtic, Rangers.
Motherwell?
Motherwell was in there that year.
Thought so. I was probably manager, but
Dundee United, I think, were there as well. And yeah, we literally just missed out on the European place as well by a few points. And it was, I think it's only the 2nd time in the club's history that they'd finished in the top 6. So yeah, to go up there in my first season and play a big part in that was again, like justification for going and trying that new challenge.
Obviously, the second season, maybe not so much to plan.
Yeah.
Well, before we tell about the position and everything else, 35 points, 10 points off Livingston, who did finish bottom. But in terms of going into that season after having such a positive one prior, what was the ambition going into the season? Because it wouldn't have definitely been, what would it have been, 11th out of 12?
Yeah, that season, it was, right, we've just finished in the top 6 the year before, kind of like an unexpected finish, but for Ross County in that football league, probably got like the lowest budget out of all of them, if not one of the lowest. But they really emphasised like sticking together, being the underdog, and trying to cement their status in the league. But they didn't want to just be part of the league. They wanted to again try and challenge to be in the top 6, if not like in and around that place, fighting for it towards the end of the season. But the dynamic of the league and the teams that are involved, like no 2 years are ever the same, apart from the last 2 of my time there when we finished in the relegation playoff twice. But it is such a difficult league, and the challenges change every year. And yeah, ultimately we fell short, and we found ourselves in the relegation playoff, which is a nice place to be.
We were speaking about that before, so obviously I don't know if you know, but Scotland has a league below, and I don't know what position it is in the Championship, but one club plays the one who finishes 11th, right, in the playoffs.
Yeah, so obviously you win the Championship, you get promoted, and then I think second place automatically go through to like a certain round of the playoff, and then like 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th play each other to go to the playoff final, basically. Yeah. And then the winner of that playoff plays 11th place in the Scottish Premiership. So
which was you twice.
Which was us, twice. So one gets relegated, one gets promoted, and then playoff to get into a playoff.
It's a weird one, isn't it?
It's a strange one, yeah. It is very strange.
Obviously, you're a Tottenham fan.
Yeah.
So, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I'd like to ask that question. Yeah. What's it like to play against Anjan? And you know, his high-intensity, crazy style of football?
Yeah, so obviously played against an Ange team before he was Spurs manager. But Ange's Celtic side is like probably one of the hardest sides I've ever played against. Mm-hmm. It's everything you expect. Fast-flowing football, dynamic, like high press, like not giving you a minute to breathe. It's a tough day at the office when you're playing against those boys.
And obviously Celtic are so dominant. So I mean, I probably could have been manager. You probably could have been assistant manager. You probably could have been whatever. We would have probably won the league there as well. But obviously Celtic are such a dominant team. So obviously being not Celtic and Rangers in that division, going into the season against 2 clubs that are so good in Europe. Well, Celtic only up until recently they've been decent in Europe, but to go into this knowing that you've got Celtic, Rangers above here and you've got everyone else sort of a bit far behind, is there a criticism that you would have on the Scottish League that these clubs aren't as competitive?
I don't think so, no. I think this year, especially obviously, Rangers haven't been like the dominant force that they have been in recent years either. I think it's been a lot closer this year. But just through the setup of the league and the nature of the league itself, like the standard is like not a golf, but like you've got the European clubs battling away in Europe, getting results against top European sides, and then you've got little old Ross County, like who can play against Rangers. Like we beat Rangers at home. I think while I was up there, we beat them at home. I think we drew against them at home as well, and those games are always shown on Sky as well because they were travelling up to the north of Scotland. But yeah, there's such a wide range of standard, and I think that's what makes it quite exciting, but also quite difficult as well. Because you've got like Celtic, Rangers, and then you've got like the Edinburgh clubs, Hearts and Hibs, who again would fancy themselves in the top 6 every year. Aberdeen, obviously a massive football club that would fancy themselves up there as well. Dundee United, big club. It's just because you play everyone 3, potentially 4 times in the year, it's such a weird dynamic when you're going into those games. Obviously, League One, Champ, Prem, like 2 games, that's it. You don't see them faces too often throughout the year, but you seeing the same faces like 3 or 4 times it's quite strange, to be honest.
How did you? So obviously you're not making the rules, but in terms, you play everyone 3 times. I only found that one out a few years into my FM save. I was wondering why I was playing Celtic 3 times, but to play them 3 times, who decides if it's home or away? Is there an actual reason, or is it just lucky dip?
I think it must just be like how games are normally set up fixture wise.
Mm-hmm.
But then obviously when the league splits 32, 33 games in or whatever it is, top 6 play each other again and the bottom 6 play each other again. And then so if you finish in the top 6 and you've played Celtic away twice, then the game of the split, you will then play them at home. So yeah, I don't actually know too much beyond that, to be honest. Yeah, no idea.
And obviously last July up until now, you've been with Northampton again. So was there almost a sense of relief coming back from Scotland to England? Was there, did you feel a bit homesick? Was it nice coming
Scotland's
back?
nice though.
Well, no, I know it's nice,
but
but
Scotland's lovely.
obviously you've been at Peterborough and you've been at obviously Hartlepool, all English clubs. So was it nice to come back to Northampton to an English side?
Yeah, and I've got to a stage in my life away from football with a young family where my daughter is coming to the end of year 6 now, so she's doing her SATs exams. And
good luck for her, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck to us as parents. And for the first 5 years of her school life, so from when she went to reception to year 3 or 4 or whatever it was, she had a different school every year because we moved from Sunderland to Salford to Bristol. They moved back home when I went to Scotland initially, so we lived apart for a year. So she went to school back home, and then they moved up to Scotland for 2 years. So then she went to school in Scotland. So it's been a wild ride for me as a footballer, but for my family, for my wife and my kids, it's been like, I can't even imagine how it's been for them. But yeah, got to the stage where I've said like I don't want her to be moving schools anymore, going from year 6 to secondary school. I'd like her to have some friends that are in her class or whatever that could potentially go to the same secondary school and all these things you think about as a parent. So obviously the opportunity came up to come back home and play in England, and it was an opportunity that off the field was right and on the field as well. Like Northampton are a club that are, albeit this year we're in a bit of a battle again, but off the pitch they've just built a new stand, just opening the clubs, trying to grow and consolidate in League One and then kick on again. So it was an opportunity that felt like it just clicked just right, and I had a year left in Scotland on my contract, but it was something that I felt at this point in time, in July, was right for me and the family. So yeah, I just had to take it.
So obviously Northampton is a decently known club in League One. Before we talk about this season and the results and things like that, I want to know about your pre-match routines. I mean, you spoke to Zaid about superstitions, but obviously not superstitions. I don't know what that is, but yeah, could you talk to us about your pre-match routine? Do you go to the training ground on home games? Just talk to us through that. Because obviously for you it's a day-to-day thing, but for us, I'm curious.
Yeah, so a standard home game, you have to report to the stadium for a 3 o'clock kick-off. It's normally 1:15.
That's quite late, actually.
So you're there probably like a couple of hours, hour 45 before the game. Turn up, and I'll speak as if I'm at Northampton now. We have like mascots come into the change room for like a meet and greet, signing programs and stuff. That's normally around 1:20, whatever it is. And then once they leave, you can then obviously get changed, and the manager will come in and do his like meeting and drill home the points that he wants put across, like just touching up really, because you do a lot of the work in the week in the build up to the game. So it's just kind of a consolidation of all those messages. It delivers that, and then you're getting ready, you're stretching, you're on the foam roller, you're doing everybody has their own kind of activation stuff that they do to get themselves ready. Some people on the bike, some people doing like very light, like lifting some very light weights, jumps, all that sort of stuff. And then you go out for the warm up. I think normally about 40 minutes before kickoff. So you're probably looking at about 2:15. You go out, you do your warm up. Yeah, you come back in and take your caffeine and take your energy gels and all that sort of stuff. And then you. Other than that, there's not really too much else to it, to be honest.
So what's it like then playing, obviously, most weeks, Saturday and then Tuesday? Do you feel you've got enough of a break in between sort of the Sunday, Monday spell, or do you feel like, it'd be better if it was Saturday to Wednesday? Or are you, used to it now?
Yeah, I think you get used to it. Obviously, the older you get, gets slightly tougher, but obviously you've got all your recovery protocols in place that you do to try and get yourself in the best shape possible for the Tuesday game. If you're in on a Sunday, it's just all normally recovery based, so you'll just be in the gym, kind of having a spin on the bike and stretching. If you've got access to a swimming pool, we'll be in a swimming pool. And then on the Monday, you'll be out on the pitch again, but very light. You're not really doing much kind of running about. You're just preserving your energy, trying not to use too much of that. So you're kind of as fresh as you can be come Tuesday. I think... Yeah, Saturday to Wednesday. I don't know. It just doesn't sound right. No, after all these years, Saturday, Tuesday is the phrase that you use. But I think it just adds to the game as well, because you've got to try and recover, and then you might have to travel. Teams travel down. It adds that dynamic to things as well. So it keeps it interesting.
Of course, and obviously League One, League Two, and everything above the National League. North and south. You're obviously playing up north, down south, east, west. So it must be one week you could be playing in the highest heights of England, and then all of a sudden you're down in Plymouth the following week. So it's definitely a weird one. But you mentioned on the Mondays you don't do anything too heavy. So essentially you're not really doing a lot of heavy. You can't really change tactics mid-season. You can't really change too much in the season because you're doing light session game.
Yeah, and I think League One, especially with the amount of game, like with 24 teams in the league. We do have a lot of midweek games, so over the winter, especially like when you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, probably for 3 or 4 weeks, the manager doesn't really have a lot of time to change things tactically. You can only really try and deliver those messages like in the video meetings or like what we call walkthroughs, where you're out there, you're in the shape and stuff, and you just basically just walking through the messages that he wants and the tactics that he wants. Yeah, it's a pretty full on league, especially, and then like you say before, you add the travelling into that as well. You could be, you could be in London on a Saturday, and then you've got to travel up to the northwest on a Tuesday night, and then back again, and then obviously.
Is that coach? That's not a plane, is it?
Yeah. Well, majority of teams are coached. Some will do train if the links, like the access links, allow it. I think when we was at Sunderland, I think we flew from Sunderland to Bristol to play Exeter. So we flew down, the coach was there, and then we drove down to Exeter, because God knows how many hours that trip would be on a coach. But there's a lot of travelling as well. So you're just trying to keep yourself in as best condition as you can, really.
Before we talk about the FIFA card, I just wanted to say, obviously this season, 19th out of 24th, could you just talk to us maybe about how this season you would have expected it to go and how it is going for you?
Personally, a bit up and down. Obviously, I've missed a few games through injury. Again, as a team, it's a season that's been really frustrating. We've not picked up points where we should have picked up points, or we was leading games and we've kind of been pegged back, or we deserve more out of a game that we ended up ultimately not getting anything out of. Obviously, we had to change of manager as well, but it's one where we've got a squad that can be a lot higher than we are in the league, and I think we know that as a group, and we know that we've probably not performed to the standard that we probably are expected to or anticipated to. And we've got, I think, seven or eight games left at the time of recording this, and obviously there's a lot of points to play for. Everybody down there is in the mix, and we're only looking above us. One of the manager's things is that we don't want to we just want to look up and like drag teams down with us and just keep getting the points and trying to kick on for the remainder of the season.
So a bit of a fun one then. I assume you've seen your FIFA card.
See, I'm not a big place. Like my son has a PlayStation.
Yeah.
But I'm not really a PlayStation.
Has he signed you?
Goer.
On FIFA?
Probably not.
Probably
Not good enough.
Baldwin and Nat Phillips link up, I must say. It's a very, very good one.
Yeah, one you didn't know you needed.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so your stats then. So obviously,
Should we see?
Oh,
should we
this
see?
is really good. Really
Yeah,
embarrassing.
yeah.
right, go on then, Jamie.
No, you can start. Do the pace. You start with
Okay,
pace.
so what would you give yourself then for pace?
Pace,
Obviously
yeah.
ranked.
Like, can you do negative numbers? Pace, I don't know. It's got to be pretty low, I'd say. I don't know what low.
What would you say it is?
We'll do a little higher or lower.
Yeah.
I'll start with 40.
Higher.
I'll take that. 50.
Higher.
55.
Tiny bit higher.
56.
A bit
7.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
Think that's fair,
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, go on, Jamie.
Generous, I'd say.
I wonder who's actually giving these ratings out. They must have a busy time come start
Yeah.
here. Shooting, obviously. Back in the day, you were a midfielder.
Shooting, but I class as a defender, aren't I? So
Yeah,
I'll probably get pigeonholed into defenders can't shoot. I'd probably similar to pace somewhere.
What would you say?
60?
Okay. It is lower.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
lower?
A bit lower, yeah.
Yeah, 40.
Yeah, bang on.
Oh, okay, no. Sorry, I don't know if I swear.
Yeah, do what you want.
Bang on. Okay, passing.
Passing. 60.
Bit lower.
50.
One more. Up.
1.
Yeah. Your highest one is actually 71, and you've got dribbling, defending, and physicality. So we'll start off with dribbling. What do you think that'll be?
4.
Well, I think if you were to take all of us on now, I think you'd probably get past us, to be fair. So it's got to be quite high.
40.
No, higher.
45.
Be generous.
Be generous. Can't be higher than my passing, surely.
It is.
It is.
I can't remember what passing was.
51.
52.
No. It's 55.
Yeah.
It's 55. Okay, obviously you're a defender.
Yeah, I'd love to know who gives these scores out. Defender.
I wonder if that's a full-time job. Like you watching
Doubt
football.
it. Doubt that.
If it is, then hire me up. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, defending. Obviously, you are a defender.
60, I'll go with a number.
No, 63.
Ah,
Yeah.
take that.
And then your physicality.
57.
No. Much more.
65. 68. 72.
No, a bit lower.
70. 71.
Yes.
71.
Do you think that's fair then? Overall, you're rated 64.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah?
I'll take that, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Pleased with that.
Yeah. So, I'm also really curious to know about shirt swaps. Obviously,
Yeah.
again, I'm no professional footballer, but if I was, then I'd like to swap shirts with as many people as I possibly can.
One thing I've not done, which...
Really?
Yeah, like I've got a couple of shirts from like mates that I've been with at a club that have then obviously moved on and we've played against each other. I just feel a little bit embarrassed asking for shirts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not really.
Is it not just a thing of like, can I have your shirt, mate?
Nah, for me, nah,
Really?
not really. Yeah,
Okay.
but if I could do it again, then I probably would. Yeah,
You still got some time.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure who I'll play against. That I think. Oh, yeah,
I'll just get
shirt.
anyone. Like, I would.
Yeah.
With respect, I would. Because obviously it's just a cool bit of memorabilia.
It's all part of the career, isn't it?
I've heard that you've got to pay money. Is that right? So if you give a shirt swap.
Yeah, so some clubs are really like, I won't say stingy. Some
Less
clubs
stingy.
some clubs are really protective over their like budgets, and the kit man doesn't like to give a lot of kit away if he doesn't have to. So a lot of clubs like charge you the price of a shirt if you want to give your shirt away to then they can buy a new one and print it basically.
That is a bit stingy.
So yeah, so like say for example, I play against one of my mates and swap shirts. It cost me like 50 quid to do it, unless the kit man likes you and he might sort you out for one.
Make friends with the kit man.
one shirt maybe.
But so is that for the majority of clubs?
I would say like kind of the
From a business perspective, I think all of them.
half of League One and below. I'd say like
Oh.
I'd say yeah.
Okay. Because even in the
Trying to look up.
Championship, all the Watford players don't really do it. They're quite...
Because I've got to pay money.
Probably. Probably. I've never met the kit man, but he might be a bit stingy, I don't know.
Maybe. So, last one from me then. I asked this to all guests that come on. So do you think, obviously, 4 or 5-year-old you would now look to where you are now and just think, I've achieved something here?
Yeah. I done a pod not recently, but probably a few months ago. And at the end of the day, when the time comes to hang my boots up, I would look back and think, like I'm happy with. I've not had any success to like shout about. Like I've not won any promotions or trophies or whatever. I've got a runners-up medal, played at Wembley. But for me, as that 5-6-year-old boy, to have said that you go on to play 400 games, play at Wembley, that's good enough for me.
Absolutely.
And that might come across as a bit of a loser mentality, but
No,
not at all.
because I know a lot of people drive home success and winning trophies, but success comes in all different forms. And for me, I would say that it's been a success.
And in terms of, last thing for me, in terms of what you're going to do, obviously you're 31 now. I think you've still got a few more years in the tank. No, I think, you know, Modric is 39. He's going on.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah.
But in terms of, do you have any ambitions to go abroad? Anything like that? Bit of Spain.
I think I'd consider going abroad if the opportunity came up. I'm not sure to what country or what level that
what would you want to go
might
to?
present itself in.
What one is like the one you want to target?
I mean, from a family perspective, if I took the whole family, I think I'd like the lifestyle like Australia.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking a bit more like Spain or something like
Yeah,
that.
but I think that ship's probably sailed, and my wife probably would have something to say about that. But yeah, I don't think technically like Spain and all that. I don't think I'm good enough to go there. But yeah, MLS or Australia. I think we were talking about it earlier.
We were. But I know, like in Germany, for example, that's a slower tempoed game. And
Oh yeah, right,
I should be your agent, shouldn't I?
German Division 4 then.
No, it'll be Division 2, I'm sure. But Jack, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Cheers, guys.
We do always end it on with a handshake, so thank you very much for coming on.
No worries.
Harry as well.
Pleasure again.
I think you've got to come to the camera, Harry. This is like you've got to bring it into the middle.
Oh,
of the
is he
camera.
in the middle there?
Is this fine?
Yeah.
We're all coming in. Cheers, Harry. And you wait.
Across the table. Thank you, Jack.
Cheers,
No
Jack.
worries.
Thank you very much.
No
Appreciate
worries.
it.